Gaining perspective in our life can be a real tricky thing. Every day we hear different stories through sermon messages, through Facebook, through friends and family. We hear stories of other people's lives that for us, we take that and it helps us put our life into perspective. The problem with putting our lives into perspective off of other people is that it comes really close to comparing our lives. If we hear of somebody that's sick, it puts our life into perspective and it helps us to learn to be thankful for what we have. We hear about somebody losing their job and it puts our job, even though we don't like it, it puts it into perspective and thankful that we even have a job. And sometimes we can look at the Bible and people in the Bible and we can they help us put our lives into perspective. The problem with that sometimes is I think we're actually, in the end, we call it perspective, but it's comparing. We're comparing our health to somebody else's. We're comparing our story to somebody else's. We're comparing our life circumstances to somebody else's. And we're not to compare. Now, what we are to do is we are to look at other people's lives, and they're to help us gain perspective on what Jesus wants for our life. I can look at Paul's life and I can see how he just completely took away everything and he followed after God no matter what. And that puts into perspective how hard I'm supposed to run after God. Now, I'm not supposed to compare my life to him. I'm not supposed to say, well, he gave up everything and I'm not willing to do that, so I'm not willing to be, I must not be a follower. It's not about that. We're not to compare how much he gave up versus how much we gave up. We're supposed to look at their lives and gain perspective about how Christ is going to call us to do sacrifices. And when he calls us, we are to stand up and we are to, even though it's hard, even though it's going to take some time to get there maybe, we are to say, yes, God, I am going to sacrifice for you. And Paul puts life circumstances into perspective. Esther and Moses and Jacob, they all put certain circumstances of our life into perspective. We're not to compare ourselves to them because honestly, we're not them. We're to use them and to help gain insight into who God has called us to be and insight into his personality and into who he is and how to have a relationship with him and how he's called us to a life with him and a relationship with him. But he has not called us to compare our lives to theirs. So just remember, when you're using other people's circumstances and other people's stories to help bring perspective into your life, don't use it as a comparison and therefore be thankful. Use it to bring your life into perspective and therefore be thankful to God where you're at and what he's given you and what he's calling you to next.